From a Christian perspective, God didn't invent evil. Rather, he created free moral agents who have the ability either to obey God and do his will, or to seek lesser goods rather than have their wills oriented toward God as the supreme good. And evil, as I understand it, is a privation of right order in the creaturely will.
Whoa, just pausing there, in case you missed it. This is what Craig just said. Evil, as I understand it, is a privation of right order in the creaturely will. Any Craig fans that might be watching, please make a video response telling me what that means.
This may be a bit late in coming, but sure thing, Mr. Dprjones. Side note, you need to come back to us. As you saw, I showed the beginning of his statement, because it is very important to hear the entire thing in order to really understand what this guy is saying. I know, it sounds like gibberish, and for the most part it is. But he does make a point, not a very good one, but a point nonetheless. He starts out with the preemptive from a Christian perspective. As we know, this means from a perspective uniquely Christian, a perspective solely reliant upon belief in God and Jesus as the Savior of men's souls. Needless to say, a perspective not grounded in reason. He then makes the statement, God didn't invent evil. He must preempt that statement with the disclaimer that he used, because he knows that from other perspectives, those of reasonable people who know the Bible, that the Bible very clearly claims that God did in fact create everything, which means he also created not only the concept of evil, but the beings that he himself would call evil. Basically, this entire statement is his attempt to escape the idea that if God created everything, it also means he created evil. And we'll see how he justifies that in his next statement, which was, rather, he created free moral agents. The free moral agents, as he calls them, is mankind. We are the ones free to make moral decisions. He goes on to state the first part of a false dilemma fallacy, who have the ability either to obey God and do his will, then finishes with, or to seek lesser goods rather than have their wills oriented toward God as the supreme good. As much as people like to say this man is stupid, this was actually a very smart way to word this, as it relates to his statement that followed. He is saying that God's will is the supreme good, the best good you could ever hope to good even on a good day, while the free moral agent's good, mankind's good, is a lesser good. He is basically saying here that even if you are a good person, if you are not following God's will, you are not really a good person, but a lesser good. And with his next statement, he is going to give you an, in fact, you are, conclusive.
And evil, as I understand it, is a privation of right order in the creaturely will.
Evil, as I understand it, simply means evil as he defines it. Another preemptive statement suggesting a unique perspective. Is a privation of right order in the creaturely will. First, we must understand what a privation is. Privation is simply another word for deprivation or hardship. So, he is saying, is a deprivation of right order in the creaturely will. By right order, we can safely assume he meant God's will. So, we are getting closer to understanding what he was saying. All we need to figure out is what he means by creaturely will. This is perhaps the easiest part of the entire statement to decipher. He has been talking about two kinds of will this entire time. If right order is God's will, then creaturely will must be man's will. So, what he was saying is God did not invent evil, even though he invented those capable of evil, and evil, as he defines it, is a deprivation of God's will within man's will. As far as he is concerned, no matter what you do, no matter how good your actions are in the real world, if they are against God's will, they are evil actions. And remember those preemptive statements?
From a Christian perspective, and evil, as I understand it, from a Christian perspective, and evil, as I understand it,
this is where they come in. From his perspective, he has the authority to tell you what God's will is.